another guest speaker this week, and this is Eric Dutro. Hi, Eric. Say hi.
Hello.
Eric
Hi.
is a Mott photography program graduate, so I figured that would be a nice continuation of Kim Weimer's last week, because Kim was a photography program graduate, and so it'd be nice to hear Eric's story as to what was your what were you doing before you came to Mott, Eric? What was your interest in photography or visual arts or anything like that? Because I don't know that I know that much about your history before you came to Mott. So why don't we start off with that?
Mm-hmm. I was interested in photography since high school, and
Okay.
I got my first, I guess it was your first beginner SLR camera. It was a Canon Rebel G, which was still film. And I got that camera in high school and for Christmas, and I thought it was awesome. And those were in the days where you still had to get all your pictures printed and all that stuff before digital was really viable. So I'm a little older now. I graduated in '99. So then I was always had photography as an interest and a hobby. I got my first digital SLR, which was a Canon XL. What was it? Canon XL.
Yeah, XLI, XTI, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was around like 2008, 2009. And when I got that was the first real digital camera I had. I always had little point and shoots and stuff where I would take pictures and try to take artistic pictures with them and stuff. But that was the first one I could change lenses with, and that was really cool. And so when I got that, shortly after that, I took a road trip from Michigan to Arizona. And ended up stopping off on the side of the road like every half hour, 15 minutes. Oh, that's so cool, and like take a picture or something.
Yeah.
And that was just a blast. After I got past the Mississippi River, I think it was, I took all back roads. I wasn't on the expressway anymore. So I saw a lot of cool stuff. And that was like my big, like, okay, I'm going to try to learn how to use this camera thing. And a lot of those pictures were terrible. It was all shot on JPEG. So it's tough to like re-edit them now. Some of them were pretty cool looking, but they are what they are. And so that was fun. And then I moved to Atlanta shortly after that and started taking pictures for people. So one of the first people that I started taking pictures for was a friend who did barbecue catering. And he would go to all these different events, and he wanted pictures of him serving food, all the people there, and kind of the vibe that was going on. And that was always fun because they were at like festivals, barbecue competitions, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of cool topics and interesting things you could shoot.
Yeah, a very fun environment, wasn't it? Everybody's having a good time, and
yeah.
So the opportunity for
so it was kind of
opportunities for good photographs was kind of everywhere, wasn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
cool.
There's just lots of interesting people, stuff like that. It was kind of me dipping my toe into event photography, trying to capture moments, just candids, stuff like that.
Okay.
So that was a lot of fun, and those were like my first paid gigs.
And then when did you come to Michigan and go to Mott?
So I moved back to Michigan around 2012, and I was still doing photography here and there where I could. It really hadn't taken off for me yet. After I went to Mott, I didn't start in photography. I started in graphic design, and then I took Nick Bacia's 101 class, I think, because we had to take a photography class, and I took that in the spring. And I'd always wanted to do photography, but for some reason I just thought, oh, I'm never gonna make money out of it. And that was like my thing. And I just was like, oh, I want to take photography, but I'll never be able to make money out of it. And then I took his class, and I was like, okay, this is where I have to be. I can't do
Oh.
graphic design anymore. I have to do photography. And that's when
Yeah,
I
I think
switched all my classes over.
one of the things you told me that swayed you a little bit from graphic design, even though you're a really talented visual guy, was that you didn't want to sit in front of a computer all the time. You wanted to be part of the process, to be out and about somewhere. And then the other part of the process can be in front of the computer, but not all of it.
Yeah, that's true. I did say that because it was, I don't know, sitting in front of a computer all day gets tedious, and you can do it for a while, but I like to get up and go do stuff, go see stuff. And so yeah, that was a big part of it for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. And
So
then
you were
so that
you were
was
also my lab assistant for I think a couple of semesters, weren't you?
yeah, for a few semesters. Yeah. So it was so that during that period I started going for photography, decided if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna hit it as hard as I can and do everything I can to get involved with anything that presents itself, pick up any jobs I can. And so I would get, little gigs here and there for events and stuff. I wasn't really confident in portrait photography yet, but what I did was there was a point where I was kind of working like 3 or 4 part-time jobs. So I would like be going to school on Thursdays. I went and did product photography for a vintage clothing store that my friend owned. So I'd go over there and shoot all his clothes for the week that he would put up on eBay. And I was working at Bill Meyer Camera Shop.
Oh, I forgot you worked there
part-time.
too.
Yeah, I worked there for a few months doing the lab work, and then he tried to put me on the floor and stuff, and I'm not good at sales and like all that stuff, which I could do it and run the register and stuff, but I just felt more comfortable up in the lab printing photos and all that kind of stuff. Then I was working in the MCC lab and doing all the crazy stuff you had me do. And so and just having a good time and like helping out in the classes, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And,
you were you were. It's funny. A lot of my lab assistants enjoyed essentially now taking the class that they already took again because they were the lab assistant for that class.
Yeah.
So their knowledge level
Yep.
kept creeping up because you almost like got to take the same classes twice. So, and you could go deeper and go into different directions with each one of those because you were like, oh, I get that now. I'm going to try this, And as I recall, you were always checking out and borrowing equipment. As I recall, you were always busy trying equipment out and taking things out and doing little gigs here and there and stuff like that.
That was definitely a perk that I enjoyed a lot.
It's a good
nice
perk for me. I don't have it right here in front of me right now. Hang on, I do have one right here. I didn't tell you what happened the other day. I got a call from Lisa at Canon, and she said, "Hey, we're getting rid of a bunch of stuff in our pro loaner department. Here's the list. Let me know what you want." So here's a 400 2.8. So we have a 400 2.8 and we have a 600 f4 that they gave us. So I've been kind of playing with these because we don't have many students in class. I've been kind of playing with these at home. But man, this is really some sweet glass to have.
Oh yeah, no, that looks sweet.
Yeah, good things can happen, so. Anyway,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a nice perk, be able to play with some nice stuff and I mean, because I'd never buy a 400 2.8. I don't have the need for it, but it's nice to play around with. I'll go out and shoot some birds or some squirrels, or I photographed some deer this fall, and it was nice to have a couple of big lenses to be able to do that with. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So really then you graduated, And what happened after that? My camera's kind of going in and out.
Well, I would say, right before I graduated, I did my internship, and that was when I started working with My City Magazine. And
sorry. What was that? I didn't hear you.
Right before I graduated, a semester or two before that, I did my internship, and I was working with My City Magazine at that point.
That's right. Okay.
And I would go out and shoot events and stuff for them, and that was huge because that was when I really started working really consistently for somebody. I would shoot 1 or 2 events a week, typically. It was kind of whatever Mike didn't feel like doing. He would send me out and go shoot that event.
Mike was on last week's lecture, so this is perfect. It's perfect that you could make it today. I really appreciate it. So
yeah, no, it's fun. And so I worked with Mike a lot, and he taught me a lot of how to work for the magazine through that internship. And then when it was time for him to move on, he called me and told me that he was going to be leaving, and he had told the owner there that I was his #1 pick for a replacement, and that was to do the photo editor and lead photographer job. So I put in my application. It took a month or maybe even 2 before I got it. I think it was a good solid month. And then I got it, and I felt completely unprepared. I was scared to do it and all this stuff because I was like, I don't have the proper equipment. I don't have the skill. I don't have all this stuff. But it's funny because at that time, the only reason I put in my application is because Mike had told me to do it.
Really?
If I let my insecurities about it at that time take over, I may not have ever done it, but I went for it.
I didn't know that.
And then, I don't know. I was just, because I didn't, I had taken portraits, but doing it all the time and doing it really well, I wasn't as confident yet. So I was like, oh, I need more time but I just got in there. I worked as hard as I could. I was probably a lot better than I gave myself credit for. But that first week was crazy. They had waited so long to hire me that I had to shoot almost an entire magazine by myself in a week. And so every day I had 3 or 4 shoots in different locations, and it was madness. And it was just kind of one of those things where it was sink or swim. And I just got through it, and it was, after that first week, it was, I felt a lot better about it. I was like, okay. I can do this. And Mike had even told me, he's like, no, you've got the equipment you need. He's like, this is all I use is this camera and a speed light for the most part. Sometimes I use
a couple lenses and a couple of memory cards and a laptop and a hard drive, and away you go.
Yeah, I didn't need, all these strobes and all this stuff that I envisioned I needed. Sure. It was much simpler, and most of the shoots were on location, so I didn't need a studio necessarily. I would go in and scope the place out and say, okay, this looks like it would be a good background, and then take their picture. And over time, doing that every month, I pretty much would shoot the whole magazine every month. Over time, I got some assistants and I had interns work with me, but I took all the portraits. I would send them out to do events and stuff like that. But I did that job for 2 years.
2 years, okay.
And that really built up my portfolio. A lot of my portfolio came from that job, and it gave me a lot more confidence. It really helped me hone in on my skills because I had constant subjects. I didn't have to work to go find people to photograph. Like they were coming to me.
And you didn't have a choice. You didn't really have a choice. It was
I didn't
do
have a
this
choice.
or, yeah, it's like you said, I like that sink or swim.
Yeah.
It was time to,
Yeah.
okay, let's go. You know,
Yep.
because I've had similar
So,
situations where I had to photograph a job and I was just like, you know, scared as could be, and like, oh my God, I hope I don't screw this up. And you know, you kind of rely on your basic
mhm.
skills and you know, f-stop, shutter speed, and ISO, and lens and composition, and just kind of follow the formula. And you know, you'll produce some decent images, you know, if you don't, you know, screw it up. But yeah, I can remember
Yeah,
being,
absolutely.
I remember splashing cold water on my face at the bathroom, looking in the mirror, going, I have no idea what I'm doing. I mean, I did,
Yeah.
but you know, it was
It's
still
just, you can get
scary.
nervous.
You get very nervous.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, you
Hmm.
know, these are, some of these are really good paying gigs, you know, you don't want to screw them up, you know,
And you gotta pretend that you know what you're doing, even if you don't feel like you know what you're doing. You got to be confident and go in there and just, I'm the photographer. We're gonna make this work. You're gonna look
sit here,
great,
turn there,
and
do
that.
this, do whatever,
Hmm.
you know, give them direction. And
Yeah, and that was a huge part of portraits for me, was making them feel comfortable, let them know like, no, we're gonna take a good picture of you. Like,
right.
because people would come in, oh, you know, I never take good pictures, or oh, you know, sometimes the magazine wouldn't tell them there was going to be a photographer coming, so they weren't prepared, and just stuff like that, and just calming their nerves a bit and say, no, like, I take really good photos, like, we're going to get a really good picture of you, don't worry about it. And then you know, I would do the best I could. And um I'd say most of the time people really enjoyed their photos. There may be a couple that didn't like it and didn't tell me, but for the most part, we did a really good job. So,
And then what happened? So you did that a couple of years, and that really, you
mhm.
know, refined the steel, so to speak, a little bit, right? And you really boosted your
Yeah,
confidence and your ability to work with people and getting something done under a deadline. I know they didn't pay very
yeah,
much, but you survived, right?
yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. They didn't pay a lot at all, but it was about, for me at the time, building my portfolio, and it's tough to find consistent photography work at times. That for a business, you know, you can like get out there and you can make, you know, you can find clients and you can like make it work, but to work for a business consistently where you're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, that can be tough to find
Right,
sometimes, you know, around Flint for sure.
right.
So um that was appealing, but over time, it was, the management was really tough to work for, it didn't pay a lot, and I just got to a point where I was ready to move on. And
Sure.
then I ended up, at the time, my plan was like, okay, I'm done here. I'm just going to hit freelancing as hard as I can. I'll make a business out of it, you know, and just, I already had a business, but I was going to amp it up and get more clients and market more, advertise more, all that stuff. And so I just ended up leaving there. I didn't really have another plan other than that, other than I'm just going to do whatever I have to do to make my freelance photography take off. And then about a month after that, I got a call from you saying like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "Actually, not much, because I just I quit working for the magazine, so I've got a wide open schedule now." And you had connected me with Chris Rabideau, who was looking for someone to do product photography at GM.
Do you
And
still see
we didn't
Chris? Does
know
she
at
still
that
work
time if it
there?
was going to be, yeah, yep. So she's my project manager right now
Oh,
for
okay,
the
cool.
photography project.
She's
Yep.
a hoot.
So, oh yeah, yeah, she's funny.
She's great. Yeah.
So yeah, she's really cool. Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah. So I'd had a couple people
So,
approach me about doing some type of this, putting a team of people together to do this photography project for General Motors parts. And then Chris
mhm.
got involved with it at General Motors, and she called me And she said, I need people. Who can you send me? So, you know, I made a couple phone calls, and fortunately you answered. So, so what's going on with that job? So you started shooting there when? I don't remember.
Actually, it's almost 3 years ago now. Like in 2 weeks, I think it was April 30th, I got hired in 3 years ago.
3 years. Okay.
Yep.
And you're all day, every day.
And that, yeah, all day, every day.
So you've been there 3 years. And how's it going?
It's going really well. The photography project has expanded a lot since we first started. When we first started it, it was supposed to be a temporary project. They would always tell me it's probably only going to last maybe a year or two. And since we got in there and started shooting, it's continued to expand. They continually add more parts they want to shoot. Most recently, they've added 360 photography machine that takes like 24 pictures. You put it on a turntable and you set it up with the software. It spins the part around and it takes 24 or 36 pictures. And then they load it into software, and it's one of those things you can click and drag around.
Oh, you click and drag it around on the website then?
Yeah.
Very cool. Are you operating that camera now?
I have. I've been trained on it, but I do all of the still photography. So yeah, I do all the still photography. I think I'm the lead photographer there. We used to have 2 photography crews, and that got now we only have 1. The other crew, around COVID, they couldn't keep them anymore. So when that all started about a year ago, so we got reduced down to 1 crew, but I lead that crew, and it's myself and a couple assistants and someone that runs the 360 photography machine.
Okay.
And we go into GM warehouses and people hand us parts. I photograph them and we edit them really quick, just really basic cropping and exposure adjustments, stuff like that.
You have to size them, because some of these are like for Amazon and other online retailers, so they have to be a certain resolution and size, don't they?
Yeah. There's a lot of requirements that over time we kind of honed in on.
Okay.
At first, it was a little different than we do now, and then as Amazon and the different storefronts came out and said, hey, this is what we're looking for, then we would change things, and they've got to be a certain resolution, and you can't crop up to a certain point and stuff like that. So that produced a lot of challenges that over time I would have to overcome, because we would do certain things a certain way and then really couldn't do it that way anymore. And so we would change things. We would make it fit their needs, whatever the client needed. So
okay. Yeah, I can't remember her name. There was another photography student that was doing some editing. Is she still there? I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Yeah, Karen Foster.
Yeah, Karen. Yeah. Do you see her ever?
She was, not as much anymore. So what happened was, when we first started, I was a photographer and she was my assistant, and she would sit at the computer and do the cropping and editing and stuff. And then at first we weren't going to travel. And then shortly after that, it became a traveling thing where I would go to Lansing or Pontiac or Ypsilanti and shoot in different warehouses. And when that happened, she wasn't comfortable traveling, so they had her be lead editor. So she would take in all the photos I was taking and prepare them for the website, which a lot of times comes down to doing some quick Photoshop work and then putting it on a pure white background.
Okay. So is she still working with you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
very good.
So I think I've shot over 100,000 images at this point. It's crazy. Yeah.
And what are you shooting now?
Um,
I mean, equipment wise.
we just got new equipment. We shoot 6D Mark IIs,
Okay.
and my main lens is a 24 to 70 millimeter Canon.
2.8.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Very sharp lens.
Yeah, and then we just got the 100 millimeter, the good one, whichever
The good 100 millimeter macro.
100 millimeter
Yeah.
macro. So that's
Yeah.
sweet.
That's a really sweet lens.
Yeah, it's nice because we had the less nice 100 millimeter before that, and it was just super slow. It took forever to focus,
Yeah.
and so this one's a lot snappier. So that's
Okay.
cool. But we were shooting with the original 6D before that, and those are tanks. Like
Oh,
it's,
absolutely.
I mean, the only
So have
reason
you
we upgraded
retired the
was,
old ones? They have over 100,000 clicks on them.
oh yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah, I'm sure they do. The only reason we retired them is because they're out of warranty now, and they can't risk shooting equipment that's not in warranty because they want, if
Oh,
something breaks,
really?
yeah, if something breaks, they need to be able to flip it around really quick. So
Okay.
we have a couple backup cameras. So that's my main, and then my secondary camera I use once in a while is Canon 90D,
Okay.
and I haven't shot with that as much because it is my secondary. But yeah, and then we've got a 17 to 40 lens that I use sometimes for really big
Okay.
fights. Yeah.
Cool. So are you predominantly on location now for the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's all on location. We go into GM warehouses where they store all the parts, and we set up kind of like a mobile studio with just like tables, and then a white background, white paper background. I'll have two strobes on each side, or one strobe on each side, and then one directly above me.
Oh, one over the top. Okay.
And yep.
So you,
And
you, you essentially you
most of the time
essentially are
they're all
making a
gone,
big white box then.
pretty much.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, pretty much. Yep. And they've got decent, I think, what are they, 36-inch soft boxes, something like that.
Okay.
So they're pretty standard. But yeah, and then there was a lot, especially in the beginning. It was difficult to learn how to shoot certain parts. Some of them are really reflective. You're shooting a lot of chrome. You're shooting a lot of, headlamps for cars, which are reflective, and they bend all kinds of crazy ways. And you can't have giant highlights that hide the part. So you got to figure out how to shoot that and mess around with your angles, maybe turn a light off or on, block a certain portion of the light with a flag until you get it right. And at first that could be difficult. It could take me 10 minutes to figure out how to shoot a certain part. But now I've been doing it so long, it's second nature. It doesn't take me long to shoot them at all anymore. I've
Cool.
just done all of them at this point. So
Wow.
yeah, it's
Wow.
pretty cool.
That's great. So
Yep.
what's your camera photography knowledge like these days? You feeling pretty solid or what?
I feel pretty solid. Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty solid. I'm not as much of a gearhead as I used to be. I
Okay.
used to always keep up with all the newest cameras and what's coming out and stuff like that, and I just don't do that as much anymore. For me, it's like if the camera works and it's working for me, that's all I need.
Right.
I don't
Okay.
get caught up in the megapixels and all that kind of stuff
Right.
anymore. They're all so good
Oh, they're all
these
so
days
good
to
now.
me. It's like, yeah, it's, you know, if it works, it works. And that's my, when I do my own shooting, I still use a 6D, which is several years old now, but it still takes great pictures.
I remember when you
I'll
bought
upgrade
that
it.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a great camera,
Yeah.
and it's economical. You don't need a 5D. I know it's really cool and like sexy to have a 5D, but you don't need it. You can take excellent pictures without it. Yeah, it's great.
Right.
It offers some extra features, but if you're working on a budget, it's not necessary. You just got to use your head a little more.
Sure. I agree. I agree.
Mhm.
So, how's the transition going from student to now working pro to now just recently getting married? I mean, you're really moving on with your life, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's great. I The transition from being a student to working was it could be difficult at times. There were definitely a lot of long days. There were, especially working for the magazine, it was you would they would want me there at 8:30 in the morning, but I would still have to shoot events at night and work on the weekends. So that there were some tough times for sure, and it was getting through that to where I am now, which is more of like a 9 to 5, even though, well, it's really I start at 6 in the morning, so I
Do
start
you
have really
really?
early days. Yeah, because I gotta work with the first shift on with GM, and they start at
Oh,
6
okay.
a.m.
Okay.
So now it's more of like a quote unquote 9 to 5, which is
Okay.
cool. I don't have to
Are
worry
you an
about,
official GM employee now, or what's the status on that?
no, I work as a
You
contractor.
still
It'll
are a
probably always
contractor.
be that way.
Okay.
hmm
You think it'll always be that
It's
way?
just how they hire. Yeah, I do. It's
Okay.
how they hire most of their people.
Okay.
But I still get all the GM perks
Oh,
if
you
they get
do?
days
Okay,
off.
great.
Yeah, yeah. So it's cool.
Great.
I get a lot of days off and stuff like that.
Okay.
hmm
Well, any other words of wisdom before we end this?
Um, I would just say when you're in school, do everything you can to make friends and meet people that share your interests in photography, even graphic design or anything like that, because those are going to be your coworkers in the future. They're going to be the people that when you're looking for work, you might give a call saying like, hey, I'm looking for some, if you have, if you need an assistant, or you'll be calling them to be your assistant,
Right.
stuff like that. I did a lot of gigs with Mike where I would just be behind him taking secondary photos or carrying bags around while he was doing a
Holding the
gig,
reflector.
holding reflectors, and I got paid for that, and
Right.
that was cool. So it's like these people that are your classmates now will be your connections in the future that are going to help you in your career. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And
Cool.
also just do everything you can photography related, dip your toes in lots of stuff and figure out what you like. There's a lot of
Cool.
different avenues for photography.
There are, and you've hit a few of them. That's for sure. You hit
hmm
retail and journalism and now kind of more on the production side. You've done a lot of just private gigs and stuff like that. Do you still take on a few freelance gigs here and there, or when you can, or something just to have some fun with, or what's your situation with that?
Yeah, I do. I'm actually doing that more now. It was tough at first because I was work. You get to a point where you're doing so much work where it's tough to take on more. But I eventually I want to have my own freelance business again. It's kind of, I've got my freelance business, but I haven't been pushing it to its max. And so eventually I want to just do product photography for myself and take on more gigs that way. I do like senior photos here and there. I could do more. I end up turning down some work, but I haven't promoted that business at all for a year or two now. So, but now I'm finally at a point where I'm like, I'm kind of bored and I want to get back into it. So I'm going to start promoting it
Okay,
more again and
cool.
start building it up. So, yep.
Very cool.
So,
Well, I
yeah.
really appreciate you stopping by. I know you're very busy and you have a heavy work schedule right now. You're traveling a little bit too right now, but to the GM facilities, so you're kind of busy during the
Yep.
day, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm mainly in Lansing right now.
Okay. All right.
And they can, yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. I really
So,
appreciate you carving some time out for me so I can get this up for students this week. And
yeah, absolutely.
it's a big deal. I really appreciate it. And geez, it'd be nice to see you sometime. So hopefully we get a lot of this stuff behind us. Maybe this summer we can get together. I do have to have an advisory committee meeting coming up soon. I was thinking I was going to do it after winter semester is over. So be looking for an email from me on that. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Yeah. Thanks
cool.
for having me. It's been fun.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it very much. Talk to
All
you
right.
soon.
Thanks, man. Yep. No problem. Okay. Sounds good.
Bye.